Hare Krishna, thank you very much everyone for joining. And by Krishna's mercy, we've been having these sessions regularly. I think today is the 24th or 25th session we are having of our ABC session. So this is very encouraging to me. 25th, in fact, today. So it's very, very encouraging to me that you are giving me an opportunity to share my journals with you because I write on one particular topic for many days. And then when I feel it is sufficiently complete, then I share it with all of you. So after our last session, last 1 week, I've been writing extensively on the topic of differentiation before integration. What this means is, in ISKCON, many of us, we try to integrate everything. We try to Krishnaize everything. We want to make Krishna the center of our life. So my proposal today humbly is, let us, instead of making Krishna the center of our life, let us give him a small corner in our life every day, consistently, and allow him to automatically become the center of our life. So Krishna is right now, imagine your life to be a circle, and Krishna is way outside the circle. So what we are doing is, we are trying to get Krishna into the center of our life circle. I am saying forget that. First, get him inside the circle of your life and give him one dedicated corner in that circle. Of course, circles don't have corners, but symbolically, give him one small place in that circle of your life and give him attention, dedication, dedicated time every day. And you see the magic Krishna does. Krishna will slowly start coming to the center. Don't drag him to the center. First, get him inside the circle. Let Krishna on his own come to the center. So this is the topic for today. Basically, we are a ABC community. A is for awareness. Last 2 weeks, we discussed about awareness, acceptance. So awareness was all about desire, how to become aware of your desire. And the B of ABC stands for balance. So today we are discussing about balance. How to keep Krishna in the corner of your life, not necessarily the center of your life. Or we can even say a small corner for Krishna can change your whole life. So before Krishna becomes the center, he must become a corner. I know this sounds a little strong, but what I'm trying to say is give him some place, some commitment, or how to balance our material and spiritual life. So let me clarify, in our inner world, Krishna should become the center immediately. But in the external world, we can't immediately change our life and make him the center of our life. That is the main point I want to make. Because our bhakti, when you come to Krishna consciousness, immediately you start developing two aspects or two dimensions to our Krishna consciousness. Please listen to this carefully, my dear friends. This is the common challenge all of us face. There are two dimensions to our bhakti. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains very beautifully in the 9th chapter. I think it is the 34th verse, where he says, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame veshashi satyam te pratijane priyosime. Always remember me, Arjuna. Become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, worship me, be absorbed in me, you will come back to me. So the main thing Krishna says is Manmana, remember me. So internally, we are supposed to remember Krishna always. So that is our main approach, or that is the main goal in bhakti. But what happens when we practice spiritual life, we have two parallel dimensions. Tell me if this makes sense to you. The first is the external dimension. What is the external dimension? Chant more rounds. Have you heard this when you come to Krishna consciousness? One of the first things we hear is, how many rounds are you chanting? Oh, 4. Start increasing. So chant more rounds is an external dimension. We also hear, oh, why don't you get deities at home? Start deity worship. Oh, you're not coming to temple? Please come to temple. Why don't you wear dhoti, kurta, sari? Oh, why don't you put tilak? Why don't you take initiation from our Guru Maharaj? So all these things are visible, measurable, and they are socially validated expressions of bhakti. Don't we all go through this? We all want social validation. For this is the external dimension of bhakti. We are all part of this. Right? Now, along with this, there is a second dimension to bhakti, which is internal. Now, this is very private. Remembering Krishna, talking with Krishna in the heart, offering him our thoughts, longing for Krishna, feeling gratitude for Krishna, feeling dependence on Krishna. And this world, my dear friends, is very, very, very personal. Do you agree with this? It's very personal. Nobody can know how much you're remembering Krishna. Nobody can see what kind of remembrance you're offering to Krishna. And nobody can see how sincerely you're progressing in your Krishna consciousness. Nobody can know all of this. Now, what happens? Let us be very honest. The internal dimension and external dimension. Which is the one we focus more? The external dimension. And there is a reason for that. It is not your fault. It is not my fault. Why we focus on external dimension is because the internal life feels very vague, very intangible, very unclear. And we also get, I don't know, many devotees have this fear. Oh, I will be labeled as sentimental or cheap or sahajia. You have heard all these terms? Oh, sahajia ho gaye, cheap ho gaye. So we want to be safe. So to stay safe, we prefer measurable devotion. My devotion should be measured, countable rounds, okay, or visible service. Acha, you are coming and doing seva in temple. Some standard which is recognized. External bhakti feels solid, but internal bhakti feels risky. Therefore, many devotees unconsciously they start equating visibility with authenticity. Oh, I'm visible, I'm doing things, great. But then slowly what happens? We start overemphasizing the outer, the external aspect so much, and we start neglecting the inner life. And that's when we get the mathematics of spiritual life completely wrong. Many of us, we focus on the external aspect all the time. And we start rushing. We get DTs home. We increase our rounds. We start taking initiation. We adopt the dress. We gain approval. Everything looks impressive. And yet, internally, our remembrance of Krishna becomes weak. I'll give a beautiful example of the opposite. It's a very beautiful example. I have a very, very dear friend who is actually he began as my junior, then as a friend. Now he's my Shiksha Guru. I love him. I love his classes. And I take shelter of his Krishna Katha. So, and I saw an amazing example. So he's a very, very good speaker of Bhagavatam. Many of you know him also. His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu. Now, there was one boy who started, he came to me and told me that, Prabhuji, I'm liking Gauranga Darshan Prabhu's classes. It is so nectarine. I said, here. So what happened? Because when you hear pure Bhagavatam, what happens? Something changes because you're associating with Krishna. So this boy, listen to this, he's a very young boy in age also and in Krishna consciousness also. But he started hearing Gaurang Darshan Prabhu. And because he started hearing pure Krishna Katha, he started developing affection for Krishna. And then something changed with him. He started remembering Krishna's lotus feet every day. And he told me, now because he's innocent, he knew that I'll not, and he didn't know anything about ISKCON much. And innocently he said, Prabhuji, today I remembered Krishna's lotus feet. And you tell me what all he heard from Gaurang Darshan Prabhu's classes. So I would encourage him. One day, something very interesting happened with him, which is, I want to share with all of you today. So he had a job interview. And he said he went for this interview and he was feeling nervous. He was feeling very nervous because he's not from a finance background, but he was getting a finance job. So he studied the balance sheet of the company, but he knew that he is not pakka in it, but he studied nevertheless. And he went for the interview and was feeling very nervous. So in the waiting room, now, unbeknownst to him, there was a CCTV camera which was observing him, and the interview panel was also knowing how the candidates are sitting outside. But he sat quietly, closed his eyes, and some of them thought, oh, some of the people, other people thought he's just calming his breath. But what he was doing, he was remembering Krishna. He said he was remembering Krishna's lotus feet. Gauranga Darshan Prabhu gives detailed explanations from third canto, some verses. So he's saying some verses of Krishna's lotus feet, which Prabhuji spoke. I remembered all the details of Krishna's lotus feet, and I was meditating, and I was waiting for my chance. So when he went in, you know what the interview panel told him? You were so peaceful and composed. And he was actually very nervous. But he says, they all felt I'm very peaceful and composed. What is the secret? So he said, I practice bhakti yoga. So, and he doesn't know anything about ISKCON. He just knows a little bit. And they were asking him, he says in that 1 hour interview, generally the interview was 10 minutes for everyone. His interview went on for 1 hour, and out of which only 10 minutes they asked about the balance sheet. And 50 minutes they were talking about ISKCON. And he said, I was so happy and I got the job. And so now, and he says answers flowed naturally. Now, I'm not telling this story to tell you how miracles happen in bhakti. That's not the main point. The main point is this. He told me something very, very striking. He said, even if he didn't receive the job, what he experienced was something very beautiful. He said, I was completely satisfied because I felt Krishna's presence. I was meditating on Krishna's lotus feet. So internally, he had completely integrated. Internally, he was with Krishna and he was peaceful. Now, try to understand. Externally, he is a new devotee. He is just beginning to visit the temple. Now, internally, I felt he has surpassed many of us who are performing devotional rituals only mechanically. So, what he proves by his example is that outer performance is not a substitute for inner presence of Krishna. Many of us are trapped by outer performance. We want to get validation, we want to get approval from our temple authorities. So we try to do many things while ignoring this internal connection. So internally, even if you are day one Hare Krishna member, integrate Krishna into your life immediately. But externally, integrate gradually, wisely. But what many of us do, externally we integrate almost immediately. And we equate external integration or making Krishna the center of our life as equal to internal growth. So internally integration means what? It means remembering Krishna during your studies, during your work, during your relationships, during your responsibilities. It means silently offering your thoughts to Krishna when you're working, when you're managing your house. Basically cultivating inner companionship with Krishna. Anybody can do this. You don't have to be a sannyasi to do this. You don't have to be an initiated bhakta to do this. Anybody can cultivate internal remembrance of Krishna. But externally integrating requires little wisdom, maturity, discrimination. Because prematurely, if you try to make Krishna, okay, let me make Krishna the center of everything. Why we do this? Because we want approval. Instead of that, I'm saying first carve out a sacred time every day. Some time every day for Krishna. Focus time. Like focus some time dedicated for chanting, hearing, worship. And rest of the day, let it be dharma based, let it be responsible, and gradually spiritualize it. See, if the inner connection with Krishna is genuine, Krishna will naturally move from the corner to the center of your life, like Krishna is moving in the life of this boy. Now, what happens, many of us, when we are new, we get distracted by external things in bhakti because we want to be seen as advanced devotee. So, because I want to be seen as an advanced devotee, or in the community, I don't know how it is in your respective communities, but sometimes there is pressure. Oh, I will be seen as less committed if I don't get deities at home. Or, many temples, the devotion is measured by visible markers. Okay, how many rounds he's chanting, how many services he's doing. So then sometimes devotees change their job dramatically. I'll give some example also. And basically what I'm trying to say is uh, the social dynamics, it shapes our devotional behavior in many cases. And because of that, we are not careful and we allow our inner connection to be replaced by external practices. Now, you will say, Acha, Prabhuji, are you saying external practices are not important? No, external practices are very important. Like the scriptures emphasize regulated sadhana, they are non-negotiable, okay? Let me clarify. Srimad Bhagavatam explains very, very clearly, we need practices. Tasmad ekena manasa bhagavan satvatam pati shrotavya kirtitavyascha dhyaya pujascha nityada, which means constantly worship, hear, chant, but absorb your mind. So mind has to be involved, but practices are needed. We are not saying don't have practices. In fact, sixth chapter Gita, Krishna says abhyasa, vairagya, practice. Practice is needed. But the external practices are like the body of bhakti. The internal remembrance is the life of that body. But many times we are ignoring the internal aspect. In fact, Bhagavatam very boldly declares, Dharma svanushtita pumsa vishwaksenu kathasuya na utpadayat yadiratim. What is the last line? Shrama evahi kevalam. If we are not remembering Krishna, then it is useless labor. So external practices are important, but internal remembrance is extremely important. Now, many of us, we unfortunately skip this internal work because there is a legitimate fear we have of becoming sahajiya, cheap, and there is emotionalism, imagination. I've seen devotees say, Prabhuji, if we emphasize so much on feelings, no, then devotees will invent imaginary relationship with Krishna and they will avoid discipline because discipline is what purifies us, isn't it? So devotees can ignore this. But I want to clarify, when I say internal bhakti, it is not about manufacturing emotions for Krishna. We have to follow Shastra only. But we have to ask, it's a very simple thing I'm saying. Can't we ask this question to ourselves today while chanting? Like I have one devotee, one student who writes to me every day about how was his chanting. Today I remembered Krishna, today I didn't remember Krishna. So I'm asking simple question. Can we ask this? Did I think of Krishna today while chanting his name? When I'm bowing before the deity, am I conscious? Throughout, throughout the day, do I occasionally at least remember Krishna? I'm not talking about sentimentalism. We are talking about basic attention. See, the Sahaja cheap thing is when we invent intimacy with Krishna without purification. But I am discussing something fundamental, more fundamental. Whether Krishna is psychologically present in our life or is simply theoretically present. So we have to work on our inner relationship more than the external show. Now, if we remember Krishna, but we don't have philosophy, if we don't have get together like this, then it becomes fantasy. And there are people who have external practice of bhakti, they do a lot of services in temple. But when they don't remember Krishna, then bhakti becomes ritualistic. Bhakti requires us to do both. There has to be structure and there has to be soul. There has to be practice, there has to be remembrance of Krishna. Both has to be there. See, when the external practice means it has to protect our inner remembrance. And inner remembrance is what animates our external practices. If either is isolated, then the devotion becomes distorted. And we are students of Rupa Goswami. We study Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. And Rupa Goswami has clearly said pure devotional service means Anushilanam. Externally also cultivating external activity and internally cultivating remembrance of Krishna. Both has to go on. Our acharyas have not said choose the inner life over external life. No, both bhakti is needed. The outer bhakti we do to awaken the inner life. But sometimes what happens with many of us, our outer bhakti has replaced the inner bhakti. So we have to work on our inner life. We count the rounds, but we forget whom we are addressing by those rounds. We increase our japa, but we reduce the remembrance of Krishna. So the inversion is the problem. The practice is not a problem. Now, I've seen devotees say, Prabhu, when we overemphasize, inner connection, then some devotees justify abandoning practices. They say, see, then Prabhuji, if inner connection is more important, then we don't have to chant our daily rounds or visit the temple. No, therefore I'm saying inner connection is not permission to abandon sadhana. The external practices are irreplaceable. They are the grammar through which we learn Krishna's language. But grammar without conversation is dead. I know one person who's expert in Sanskrit grammar, but he can't speak one line. He says, I have not practiced talking. So you know the grammar of a language, but you cannot have a conversation. We need both. We need structure of the practice, and we also need the life of attention. So the main point I want to make is that internally, let us integrate Krishna like this boy who heard Gaurang Darshan Prabhu's class. Internally, let us remember Krishna always, but externally, let us go slow. See, there is a very beautiful example in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 23rd chapter. I request all of you to read this chapter. This is a story of these amazing Brahmanas and their wives. Now, they were ritualistic Brahmana. They performed elaborate rituals and they were learned in the externals of spirituality. And their wives were simple women. When they were tested, see, they carried deep devotion in their hearts. When the Lord tested them, they offered everything to Krishna. They did not hesitate to offer. But the husbands remained indifferent. They remained reluctant. So the Brahmanas, they had perfect ritual alignment, but their wives had the perfect inner alignment. And Krishna prefers the heart over the ceremony, over the rituals. So many of you may see in your own communities, young boys, new devotees, they have so much of devotion, sweetness, simplicity. Sometimes I told one boy recently, you are much, much more advanced than me. He thought I'm being humble. But actually, no, because he remembers Krishna spontaneously. Internally, is very much aligned. And externally, he started the practice, is doing good, but he's really remembering Krishna because he's not committing any offenses. He's new. When we are new, we don't commit offenses also. So I can see that he's getting mercy. So there are people like that. So my point is, some people may use that inner bhakti as an excuse to reject or neglect discipline. But there are people who also use this outer bhakti, external show, as a substitute for a beautiful relationship with Krishna. We need to have both. But what is more important? You all know what is more important. What is more important? The internal connection. Because wearing devotional attire, chanting more rounds, getting deities at home, they're all beautiful expressions, but only when they are an overflow of inner realization. But if you make it as a substitute for inner connection, then it becomes a burden. And we know so many devotees who are burdened also by bhakti practices because internally they are not connected. See, a tree does not start spreading the branches across the sky. First, the tree begins underground. The roots go deep, silently, invisibly, patiently, and nobody starts applauding when the roots are growing. Nobody photographs the roots. But without the roots, the branches are not there. In fact, the branches become dangerous. If you start decorating the branches before strengthening the roots, the first storm will come and expose the weakness. So, focused private remembrance of Krishna is the root system. It is the most important. Externally reorganizing our life, the dress, the role, the projects, renunciation, this is all the canopy that is visible. If the roots are deep, the branches will grow naturally. If the roots are shallow, then we are only performing. Therefore, in the 6th chapter of the Gita, Krishna says, always remember me. Yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yukta tamo mata. Remember me, absorb yourself in me. This internal consciousness is most important. In the 9th chapter also Krishna says, whatever you do, yat karoshi, yadashnasi, yat joshi, offer that to me, connect with me. So Krishna is not instructing us to stop doing ordinary things, but he's saying, remember me when you're doing them. This internal integration is very, very important. And this matters more than all the external credentials. Because the ultimate thing I like is in the 8th chapter, Krishna says, when you are dying, he says, Yamyam vapi smaran bhavam tajat ante kalevaram. When we are dying, we are supposed to remember Krishna. And whatever consciousness we have at the time of death, that's what we will attain. So therefore, ultimately, it's an internal journey. See, a child is learning to swim. So I don't know if you have, when you start learning to swim in the swimming pool, where do you go first? Do you go to the deep waters or do you go to the shallow end? You go to the shallow end. The girl starts learning to float, breathe, she trusts the water, the child starts trusting the water. If you throw your child deep into the ocean and shout, make swimming the center of your life, what will happen to the child? The child will panic. She won't become a swimmer. She will develop fear of water. Similarly, in bhakti, we have to have repeated safe immersion. Japa, ठीक है. Chant japa as much as you can slowly. Prayer, honest reflection. Slowly start growing your trust in Krishna. Then surrender becomes natural. Unfortunately, when external dramatics becomes more, or prematurely it becomes the highlight, then instead of absorption, it creates anxiety. I don't know if you've seen devotees, we are like, we become experts in everything. I don't know, there are art critics. When you see a beautiful painting, you see it differently than an art critic. The art critics, they see the painting, they say, they will discuss every brush stroke, but they will not be moved by the beauty. They will be caught up in the critical thinking. But internal remembrance of Krishna is like appreciating Krishna. It's like appreciating the beauty, being moved by the beauty. So we have 9 processes of bhakti Prahlad Maharaj gives in 7th canto. One of them is smaranam. It is a primary practice. Remembering Krishna is not a byproduct. Remembering Krishna is an important practice. It is not something that automatically happens. We have to do it. So let is better to develop or build a relationship than to show Krishna consciousness. So we have to, better to find Krishna in the sanctuary of our heart than to arrange him perfectly in the, showcase the external life. Don't have to show Krishna, because if the inner world is nourished, the outer life will eventually harmonize. But if we neglect the internal life, nothing will work. So Dhruv Maharaj also said this, right? When he saw Krishna, when he actually met Krishna, everything else became irrelevant, isn't it? That famous story. Dhruva wanted a kingdom, but when Lord Vishnu came, he said everything is useless because I got you. Because that experience of Krishna is what we need. Bhakti is not about doing things for Krishna. Bhakti is about being with Krishna. We are doing things for Krishna so that we can be with Krishna. It's also about being with Krishna. Because, and you will say, okay, Prabhuji, what does it mean when we are with Krishna? What will happen? Okay, nothing will change externally when you are with Krishna. There is this famous Buddhist saying, let me get it right. It says, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Before enlightenment, what do you do? Chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, what do you do? Chop wood, carry water. Nothing changes. The point is, external life will look same. It's an internal state that changes everything. So main point I want to say is that let us focus on the internal life. This was the introduction to this presentation. See, my main point I want to say is, give Krishna a dedicated corner. Don't drag him to the center of your life. First, make Krishna the corner give Krishna a corner, not the center. Krishna will come to the center. So now, after the introduction, I want to share one of the deepest challenges in spiritual life. See, we are living in two worlds, and we are torn apart by these two worlds. The one world is the world of material responsibility. Prabhuji, I'm an engineer, I'm an MBA, I want to be a CEO, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a teacher. So this world of material responsibility, I have a family, I have children. This is one world we have. And there is another world of spiritual aspiration. I want to be a devotee. I want to love Krishna. All of you have you ever experienced being torn by these two worlds? Anybody? We all go through this, right? Now, what we do, devotees, is we try to merge both very soon. We think, let me merge both. Let me integrate everything. Let me spiritualize everything. Let me merge both the worlds. But what we do, yeah, keeping a leg in two boats. And we hear also in lectures, oh, you are doing material life also, spiritual life also. You're going to suffer because you have two legs in two boats. And we try to merge everything so soon because we are scared of these challenges of two worlds that we'll end up confusing both. See, devotees' hearts is, there are two gravitational pulls that are dragging devotees. One is the world of performance. You're CEO of a company, your material world, that it demands control, cleverness. And there is another world, the world of devotion, where you have to be helpless, you have to be dependent on Krishna. So when these two worlds they come together in before coming to Krishna consciousness, we didn't have this struggle. But now, the outer world, what happens? We have to lead, we have to decide, we have to deliver results. I'm sure all of you are working, must be facing this. But when you come to the inner world, you are told kneel, weep, wait, beg. These are the words we use. Beg Krishna. And when these two words bleed into each other, we suffer. In ISKCON temples, we hear we have to be a beggar, you have to be humble. And devotees carry this beggar's humility to the office. And they create a mess. They become indecisive, they get exploited. I know some devotees who carry this mood to office and they're finished. And then sometimes we carry the negotiator's ego to temple. And there we try to negotiate with devotees and we become manipulative. We start bargaining even with God. So there are two different worlds. All of us, let us face this. And these two worlds, we try to merge them too soon, too fast. And I've seen devotees do this. How they mix up, Okay, I'll chant more rounds. Krishna must help me. Or if I serve sincerely, I deserve peace. This is not devotion, this is business. You are trying to use your office psychology in devotional service. It doesn't work like that. So, art of spiritual maturity is learning how to play both roles, not compulsively, but consciously. So, I'm proposing today, can we learn differentiation before integration? Differentiation means let us separate our business, profession, family, health, and spirituality. And one day it will all be integrated. That is the proposal today. This is called differentiation. Many of us are trying to do integration. Integration means we are trying to make everything spiritual. Have you heard this? Let us make everything spiritual. This sounds very romantic. Sounds beautiful. Now it doesn't work. In practical world, it doesn't work like that. I am proposing today, let us first differentiate. Let us make two different realities, material reality and spiritual reality. Let us honor both the material reality. Let us honor both the material reality and the spiritual reality. One day, everything will become spiritual, everything will become integrated. But first, let us begin with differentiation. So, now how do we begin? Now, the actual integration begins with differentiation. Okay, you have seen a river. A river has to first find its distinct course. Have you seen a river flowing? First it goes through its distinct course, then it merges with the ocean. So we have to, as devotee, first learn to clearly distinguish between a material duty and my spiritual identity before I can harmonize them in Krishna consciousness. I want to share with you one very psychologically healthy principle. It's a wise principle. Don't make Krishna the main thing in your life prematurely. This is the forgotten art of spiritual differentiation. What I'm saying is, Give Krishna a little space and give him that space every day. Differentiate Krishna's existence from other interests. And one day you will give your life to Krishna, because Krishna is very, very chalu. Krishna is very shrewd. He will drag you. Before you realize, Krishna will control your life. But I'm saying making everything spiritual doesn't work at first. I want to share two real examples with you. Of course, I'll change the names, how this principle works. And but before I share these two examples, please listen to these two, and you tell me, you tell yourself which of these two examples resonates with you. But before I share the example, I'll tell you the three stages devotees go through. The first stage is, Krishna is outside the circle of our life. Okay, you may be in this stage. Krishna is outside the circle of your life means what? You remember Krishna occasionally, but your routine dominates the center, your domestic duties, your office, your attachments. Now, many of us are at this stage before we were introduced to Krishna consciousness. Now, stage 2 is where I see most of you are. Stage 2 is Krishna enters the circle. I think many of us have Krishna in the circle of our life, right? What does that mean? Every day we give Krishna some dedicated space, some specific time. I know some devotees who sometimes tell me also, Prabhu, can you help me wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning? They have a desire to get up early in the morning because they have sincere, they want to give some dedicated space, some specific time, energy, attention. It's a conscious daily practice. At this stage, Krishna is our life, but Krishna is not the center. Krishna is the life. This is where, let us be honest, many of us are at this stage. We need to admit that Krishna is not the only reality. Krishna is not the center of my life, but Krishna is having some place. Now, welcome to stage 3. Some of you may be in stage 3. What is stage 3? Stage 3 is where Krishna is the center. Means your attachment grows, your consciousness matures, and Krishna permeates everything. Relationship, work, rest, service, everything is integrated spontaneously, not forcefully. So everything is Krishnaized. You're working with devotees, you're taking food with devotees, you're going for yatras as holidays. Everything is Krishna conscious. So what I'm saying is, let us be in stage 1 or stage 2 first. Let us not jump to stage 3. You cannot forcefully come to stage 3. This is called differentiation before integration. Before we can spiritually integrate all aspects of our life, first let us give him a clear, protected space of his own. That means separate, you clearly separate and understand your material duties. You have your work, finances, health, worldly responsibilities. Let us call it as material duty. Let's give it a distinct domain. See, each of these activities requires attention, practice, understanding. Don't blur them together, or don't say everything is Krishnaized. Only when you have developed competence and clarity in both realms separately, then you can unify them. Material actions become spiritual practice, not now, not immaturely. People say I'm earning money, but I want to make it devotional. Well, life will become sacred. All your dualities will collapse into a unified experience of reality, but it'll happen slowly. I'll give an example. I asked my Guru Maharaj after this Vrindavan Yatra. I told him one. I think I shared this here before. It shook me completely because I go through. I'm a HSP. I have a very highly sensitive nervous system. I get stressed when these online classes nourish me, but offline, even if there are 5 people, I get tired. But online, somehow so I'm socially, I get tired. So one day I asked my Guru Maharaj that you were serving 12,000 people in the festival, in the yatra, but I get exhausted when I have 5 people around me. How are you able to serve thousands of people with so much happiness? How is this practically possible? I asked him this question. And he simply smiled and he said, I was not serving 12,000 people. I said, really? He said, yeah, I was praying for, when I was looking at one person, I was praying for that person. And I remembered Krishna. So I was looking at each person individually. I was not looking at 12,000 people. So I was like, wow. For him, Krishna consciousness perception was natural. There was no separation between service, remembrance of Krishna. And when we hear such stories, we think, wow, I want to reach that stage. Well, what I think what we are failing to see is we are not there yet. I am not there. Let me accept it. What we do, instead of saying I am not there, we psych ourselves up and we start believing what pure devotees are experiencing. See, what they're experiencing, we start believing that to be my present reality. And we say, okay, I should also see everybody as one. I should love everyone. It doesn't work like that. We can't turn our aspirational stage to our assumed stage. We can't give pep talk, no artificial self. No, no, no. Forget it. Make peace with who we truly are. Honor your current stage. If you're a CEO of a company, if you're into business, expand your business. Work hard. Do what you're supposed to do. And then gradually, through practice, sincerity, and mercy, grace, you will reach that higher level one day. See, I'm not talking about spiritual principle today. I'm talking about a psychologically profound uh, concept. It's a psychological concept. Just honor your nature. You cannot transcend the world without learning how to function in this world effectively. If you don't know how to function in this world, how will you transcend this world? If you don't know how to deal with people, how will you transcend this world? You cannot see everything as one until you have mastered the discipline of treating them as distinct. You have to see them first as different. You have to honor both, material and spiritual. Now, why I'm saying this, why I'm saying honor your material duties, because you will be saved from a very big disease called spiritual bypass. Spiritual bypassing means we avoid serious issues in the name of spirituality. Some of us may need serious counseling, but we want to avoid treating our past pain and our trauma in the name of Krishna consciousness. But if we focus on differentiation before integration, then at least spiritual bypass will not happen. Because I've seen many devotees, we say we have to spiritualize everything, Prabhuji. But what happens if we put Krishna in the center of everything? If we Krishnaize everything prematurely, it will cause confusion, guilt, and burnout. Because Krishna is not experientially the center of my life. I'm trying to mentally force him into that place. See, if you're not experiencing Krishna and you're forcing Krishna into that space, then it creates a mental imbalance and you're trying to see everything as one. Then you end up with confusion, not unity. See, because you can't integrate what you don't understand. If you have never developed discipline in material, let's say you have not developed discipline in material life, if you have not developed discipline in earning money, if somebody has not developed discipline in managing family responsibilities or maintaining the body, and if he claims it's all one, everything is one for Krishna, then it becomes an excuse for incompetence. I have seen sometimes this becomes an excuse for being incompetent. Because, see, if I've never developed a genuine spiritual practice, then saying everything is sacred, it's just a nice idea. There is no depth in it. So, integration actually requires tension between opposites. You need to feel the tension to mature. You cannot avoid the tension. Like you need to feel the pull between worldly duty and spiritual calling. That you need to struggle with balancing material success and inner peace. This tension, only when you go through the tension, you develop the capacity to hold both simultaneously. I mean, those who are grahasthas will understand what I'm saying. Because It's like learning music. I have not learned piano, but when I was sharing this with Brahmachari class, one devotee was telling me that you have to first learn each hand separately on the piano. That's called differentiation. And then you can play both together in harmony. That is integration. If you try to play both hands together from day one, you get noise. So differentiation builds the container strong enough to hold that unity. So there are some problems that happen if you don't focus on your material life. If you don't try to focus on it as an offering to Krishna, if you don't do it properly with proper determination and proper the sense of responsibility, then there are some problems that we will have. First, we will start neglecting our worldly responsibilities because devotees will start saying, "Oh, this is temporary anyway. Everything ultimately Krishna matters. So if Krishna matters, then let me neglect." So what we are doing, we are not spiritualizing our work. We are escaping. We are mistaking avoiding work for devotion. We think it is devotion. And we use nice words. It's Maya. So I don't know if you've seen this. A student stops studying properly. A student says, "Why focus on material education when I should be thinking of Krishna?" Or an employee becomes careless at work saying, "This job is anyway Maya." Or a parent, I know a parent who has neglected a child saying that, "See, I need to prioritize my spiritual service." In fact, there is one community where I saw the temple president tell the devotee was getting initiation, was an initiation candidate. "Oh, your initiation is difficult because you are spending too much time with your children." My God, what was that? I was like shocked when I heard that. What do you mean? How can too much time? How can time with children be too much? You know. So what happens is we think spiritual life has to be completely practiced. Everything else is Maya. Now, now irony is Krishna himself has emphasized duty in the Bhagavad Gita. But many times devotees mistake avoiding our responsibility for renunciation. And we mistake irresponsibility for spirituality. So therefore, the third chapter, Krishna says, "Do your duty." He reminds Arjuna's position as a warrior. Do the duty. And the 18th chapter, he talks about integration. First, he reminds of our duties in this world. Then he integrates them. That's why Bhagavad Gita says, regularly attend the classes. In the Bhagavatam, the class, before the class, we chant this verse. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Regularly attend classes, render service to pure devotees, and it will Krishna consciousness will be established slowly. So this is a verse which I always quote to validate differentiation. That spiritual realization comes through gradual practice in specific activities like studies, service, responsibility. It doesn't come through instant integration. Also, I like to hear Prabhupada's classes. Recently, I was hearing one class of Prabhupada in Montreal, 1968 class. I can share the details later. I think it is July 10. He speaks about this famous verse of Prahlad Maharaj, where Prahlad Maharaj is saying that, it is better to have love for Krishna than all the 12 qualities of a Brahmana. So there, Prabhupada explains very beautifully that by birth, all of us are Shudra. But by gradually cultivating, again and again, he speaks about gradual cultivation. So he says you have to go through basic level, we have to go through training, not immediate perfection. So we can't neglect our material duties. So this is the first point. This is the first problem that happens if we artificially integrate everything and we try to prematurely become Krishna is everything. So what is the first problem I spoke about? And the problem is that we start neglecting our material responsibilities. This is very, very common. And second, very serious, it creates tension in relationships. Have you experienced this? I don't know. But I've seen this. Like people, if you start integrating everything and start trying to become Krishna conscious, you know what will happen? People around you, you start feeling their obstacles. You start feeling they are distracting me from Krishna. It starts breeding frustration, judgment, emotional distance. You tell me, are these symptoms of bhakti? Frustration. Is frustration a symptom of bhakti? When forced integration happens, we start viewing family members who are, family members become impediments to my spiritual life. Family members are supposed to be souls whom I'm supposed to serve. But when we prematurely try to integrate everything, the family members become impediments to my spiritual life. And friends, there are friends who don't share spiritual interests. Immediately we start seeing them as bad association. And then normal human interactions, they start feeling like disturbances to my Krishna consciousness. Have you seen this? Normal human interactions. I mean, it's a normal social sense. How are you? How is happening? What's happening? Normal. No, this is a disturbance. So what? So okay, this is all okay. You know what is happening? You know how insidious it is, how dangerous it is. Slowly we start getting isolated. We start developing resentment. We start judging others, and our relationships get damaged. We become socially abnormal. We start withdrawing, and we start mistaking antisocial behavior as detachment. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, but this is obvious. You open your eyes and see this. So actually, I'll tell you, in reality, if you really love Krishna, what should happen? If you really love Krishna, if you're experiencing Krishna, you should it should make you a better family member. It should make you a better friend. It should make you a better colleague. You should love everyone. It should make you a better human being, not a worse human being. So this is the second problem that happens. So if we integrate everything artificially, first is we don't take material responsibilities seriously. Second, we become more frustrated, or we become tension. There is tension in the relationship. That is the second problem. And third, this is the most damaging consequence. Internally, we start being guilty. And devotees, one of the biggest reasons why devotees feel guilty is because I'm not Krishna conscious whole day. Because practically speaking, you cannot integrate your life. You cannot remember Krishna 24 hours. And devotees start feeling like failures. So, I should be absorbed whole day, but I'm not. I should be chanting mentally when I'm working, but I can't focus. I should see Krishna in everything. Pure devotees see Krishna in everything, no? But honestly, you cannot see Krishna in everything. And when you can't see Krishna in everything, you start feeling guilty. Great devotees are absorbed 24/7. So I must be failing. Lot of devotees feel guilt. They feel like a failure. And that drains their enthusiasm, and that weakens the connection. And eventually devotees get burnt out and they give up. And we start measuring ourselves against advanced standard, which we have not reached there yet. But it's exhausting us internally. So this is all what happens when we try to prematurely make Krishna the center of our life. So then, when we make prematurely Krishna the center of our life, then our Krishna consciousness is built not on love, it's built on pressure. We are pressure cooker bhakta. We are not love wala bhakta. But if you give Krishna a protected corner, small corner, consistent, sacred space every day, then Krishna gradually expands to the center naturally, peacefully, joyfully. So, what we are proposing today is, let us create healthy boundaries, differentiation, then allow natural expansion. So, that what I mean is, give some time every day for japa, study, hearing, deity worship. Then Krishna will gently flow in your speech, relationships, all that will happen. Krishna doesn't become the center of your life by forcing. Never. Krishna will become the center when we give him a regular sacred space. Because Krishna's influence will naturally radiate. I don't know if you've heard this quote. Prabhupada often says, Krishna consciousness is a cultivation. Have you heard this word Prabhupada uses many times? What does cultivation word mean? Cultivation means it is slow, evolved. When I kept saying Krishna, keep him in the corner, that doesn't mean, neglect. No, it means give him a corner in such a way that he can fill the whole circle. Give him attention. Differentiation doesn't mean separating yourself from Krishna. It means preparing for deeper connection. Because integration happens by attraction, not by force. You can't issue a diktat in bhakti. See, when you fall in love with Krishna, like let's say morning sadhana, you are chanting, let's say in the chanting, you are given exclusive time for Krishna, and you are spending, say, half an hour every day in Krishna consciousness activity. In that activity, if you are offering your heart, if you're offering your prayer, then that sweetness of that experience will naturally spill over to the rest of the day. So rest of the day, you will be able to spontaneously remember Krishna. You don't have to push Krishna in the center. Krishna pulls himself there. So I want to summarize whatever I've spoken so far in the last 1 hour into 2 sentences. Before Krishna becomes the center of your life, give him a definite place in your day. I'll repeat this sentence. Before Krishna becomes the center of your life, give him a definite place in your day. And second, once we honor Krishna daily, he will naturally take the center. Not by our control, but by his grace. But Krishna is very merciful. And once Krishna is given that space consistently, something beautiful happens. The fragrance of that sacred time starts spreading to the rest of the day. Our thoughts, our work, our relationships, everything becomes subtly Krishna colored. Krishna starts moving from the periphery towards the center. Not because we pushed him there, but because Krishna himself came there. But if we artificially force him, there is imbalance, there is frustration. So, oh yeah, I forgot to give that story, right? I wanted to share those 2 examples. I got carried away. Hmm. Hmm. But anyway, before I share those 2 stories, I want to say this point that if we give dedicated time every day, we will remain sane during the chaos. I'm telling you, many of us go through chaos in life. It's a mess. Material life is really, really challenging. Whoever you are, you don't have to be a Hare Krishna devotee to say this. Everybody is suffering. It's chaotic, crazy, bizarre. And when we have dedicated time every day for Krishna, then bhakti becomes very realistic. Otherwise, some vague integration, everything is Krishna. That's very vague. That doesn't soothe your heart. Hmm? So my practical takeaway is don't try to make everything Krishna conscious right away. Does it make sense? Don't make everything Krishna conscious right away. Make something Krishna conscious every day. I'll repeat. Don't make everything Krishna conscious right away. Make something Krishna conscious every day. Does it make sense? थोड़ा वर्ड जगलरी है, बट समझने वाले समझ गए, जो ना समझे वो पता नहीं क्या है. And that's something that you're making Krishna conscious. Now protect it with your heart. Like for some of us, it is journaling. I know for some devotees, it is morning chanting. They get up at 3:30. They want to chant first thing in the morning. And one day, that small sacred time which you are protecting, which you are giving Krishna, that will radiate into everything you do. See, trust me when I say this. I know somebody who is very, very junior to me in age and bhakti. And this devotee, I feel ashamed, I feel humbled, and I also feel inspired by this devotee. This devotee is 25 years younger to me. And so Krishna conscious, so pure, so innocent. And I can see where is this coming from. Because no artificial integrating everything, no everyday giving dedicated time to hearing Guru Maharaj lecture, Prabhupada lecture, chanting quietly, doing it for the last 5 years, 6 years this devotee is doing. I can see this devotee is way, way ahead, very grounded, mature. So therefore, let us understand the circle of my life. There is work, relationship, study, health, everything. But also time to Krishna. Give him a definite place, and Krishna will take the central place one day. So this integration is not a human project. It is Krishna's mercy. Our part, our responsibility is to give him space every day. And it is his part to come to the center. So, okay, I'll come back to these two contrasting case studies. I want to say, okay, before again, before I share this case study, what is an ideal devotee? Who is an ideal devotee? Somebody who feels Krishna's presence always, right? You'll see somebody who remembers Krishna always. Like I don't know if I've heard this in the classes we hear, for a devotee, have you heard this? For a devotee, there is no difference between material life and spiritual life. I always hear this. There is no difference. Everything is integrated because there is always, if you're working, you offer that work to Krishna. If you're at home, you see your family as Krishna's gift. Everywhere, everything is connected to Krishna because He is the center of my life. Krishna is everything. And before doing anything, we are supposed to ask, will this please Krishna? Before accepting anything, the devotee asks, will this bring me closer to Krishna? We always want to be with Krishna. We act, we think, we speak accordingly because we want to be with Krishna. This is how Krishna consciousness is presented to us. You know what is happening here? You know how is Krishna consciousness presented to us? It is presented to us as an integrated process where every aspect of our life is infused with spiritual energy and it is permeated with Krishna's presence. Now I want to take you back to the origin of the beginning of the class. This is how our inner life should be in an ideal Krishna conscious situation. But the reality is something different. And the reality can be seen by this case study of Dukhi Atma Das. I've changed the name. Dukhi Atma Das is an amazing devotee. He came to Krishna consciousness and he heard in one Bhagavatam class that devotees make Krishna the center of their life. You know what he did? First thing, he went home, he removed the giant television screen immediately because that was the main attraction for the guests also. And he removed that and he placed an altar of Gaur Nitai, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra and Krishna in the center. He rose very early in the morning, he performed Aarti and he insisted that his wife and children take part because Krishna is the center of their life. And what do you think happened? The family was very happy. Why? Because it was new. See, initially, anything is new is exciting. So the newness of Krishna consciousness attracted them. But after a few days, the family was not willing to get up early in the morning and attend Mangalarati. And Dukhi Atma Das, what happened to him? He became upset with this family that they are unwilling to participate in Krishna consciousness. Then it was annual holiday time. He said, we are going to Vrindavan, Mayapur and Jagannath Puri for our holiday. For picnic. For annual holiday, we'll go to Mayapur. They said, okay, great. But he said, we'll go with thousands of devotees. There is yatra. The family protested because they said it is not the regular holiday we've been going all these years. He said, Dukhi Atma said, no, no, no. All activities, including holidays, must be spiritualized. So great. So what he's doing? Integration. He's integrating everything. So then he immediately left his high-paying job and there was a devotee, one small startup. So devotees, we want to serve Krishna. So he was getting, I think, much, much, much less salary than what he was doing earlier. He said, Prabhuji, it is okay. Being with devotees is better than working with materialistic people. Wow, बहुत अच्छी बात है. And I said, why? Because materialistic people, Prabhuji, they don't value God. So he was doing yoga and exercise. He stopped that because he said, when I chant in Guru Puja, Prabhuji, I've heard that is enough physical exercise. So I dance a lot. Okay. So then, he was inviting his extended family members, his cousins to family gatherings. He stopped inviting them because he said the temple community, these devotees, they are my family. They are my friends. And he spent all his time with them. So gradually, what do you think happened to his domestic life? I don't have to tell you. You are grahasthas. You can guess what must have happened. His domestic life suffered, but he became irritable. he actually became a very irritable person, and his family and his acquaintances started seeing him as a fanatic and as a religious zealot. Khattarwadi bolte na. I remember one day I asked him, this is a true story. I knew something is wrong. I asked him, Prabhuji, how are you doing? You know what he said? He said, Prabhuji, Krishna is giving me special mercy because everybody is unhappy with me. But I think I'm doing something. Krishna must be having some special plans for me to go back home, back to Godhead. That's why my family is unhappy with me. I think I'm burning all my karma. Prabhuji, I'm burning all my karma at once now. All my karma is getting burned, Prabhuji. So what do you think? Is karma is getting burned? Is Krishna having a special plan? Could he have done something slightly differently? I'll give you the contrasting case study of Ananda Gauranga Prabhu. This is all true story, but name changed. So Anand Gauranga Prabhu, he first practiced differentiation before integration. What do I mean by this? When he came to temple initial days, he would tell his wife and children, now I'm going to temple for 2 hours. I won't be available. Don't call me. Next 2 hours, I'm with Krishna. And when he was going on a family holiday to Singapore, he came and told Radha Gopinath ji in our temple that Krishna, the next 2 weeks, I won't be able to come to you. I'll be with my family. Please excuse me. he kind of he took permission from Krishna, but he was 2 weeks, he was with his family in Singapore. And he focused on his gym, on his business. So each activity had its dedicated time. Now, sometimes he said he remembered Krishna during gym, but sometimes he did not remember. But he was peaceful because he knew that he was giving Krishna an exclusive, consistent daily slot. He began small, but he steadily offered everyday time to Krishna. And then gradually, Krishna, who once occupied a corner of his life, today Krishna has moved to the center. Today, his whole family supports his spiritual practices. Recently, he got his younger son also married, and it was all devotional program. The spiritual master came for that program, and is exclusively engaged in seva, nothing outside Krishna consciousness, is integrated in spiritual life. He serves as a counselor, mentor to many devotees. This is not a fictitious, made up story. I've just changed the names. He has a much better chance of reaching the stage we described at the beginning. I said, no, we should see Krishna in every aspect of our life. That ability, this Anand Gaurang Prabhu has. He has a better chance. Dukhi Atma Das' problem was he practiced spiritual life without boundary. He did not make any boundary. He said everything is spiritual. He wants to run towards Krishna full speed, but he tried to make too soon Krishna the center. Anand Gaurang Prabhu, on the other hand, he defined healthy boundaries first. Then gradually Krishna came to the center. He seamlessly Krishna came. He did not have to push Krishna. He did not have to impose Krishna. He just remained consistent in his spiritual practice. And Krishna took over the rest. He was quiet. He was humble in his consistency. But Dukhi Atma Das was loud, aggressive, and he ended up losing much. And you know why Anand Gaurang Prabhu actually succeeded? Because he honored each role. He honored his role as a husband. He honored his role as a businessman. He honored his role as a father. And he never felt guilty, conflicted, or overwhelmed. That is because he honored his role. This allowed his spiritual life to grow steadily and peacefully. He started small. He didn't try to make his whole day spiritual overnight. He honored that small daily slot, and that slot transformed his life. See, have you seen a child, your baby, how it has learned to walk? First separates his steps before the child starts balancing them into smooth motion. In early spiritual life, we have to consciously separate two worlds. Material world, where we play roles, perform duties, use intelligence for practical ends. And spiritual world, where we cultivate surrender, devotion, intimacy with Krishna. If you rush to declare, Prabhuji, everything is spiritual, you know what you're risking? You're risking the mixing of ego and devotion. And then your business ambition. Sometimes I've seen our business ambition masquerades as service. Or our laziness hides behind dependence on Krishna. I may say I'm depending on Krishna and I may become lazy. Or I may become very ambitious and I may give it the name devotional service. In the sense, like, we mix because we want to do everything for Krishna. So there is no boundary. There is nobody to correct me. My mind will cheat me. But when I say differentiation comes first, that means clarifying your motives first, separating your pure intent from mixed desires. Separate it. It's not duality. I'm not saying live a double life, lead a hypocritical life. I'm saying lead a honest life. This is not about duplicity. I'm not saying be duplicitous. I'm saying be honest. I have material desires. Like, I was going in a car with a Grahastha devotee, so sweet devotee. We were driving and there are two Grahasthas sitting behind me. I was sitting next to the Prabhuji. And the Prabhuji from behind said, he looked at one car. I think it was a very Jaguar or some very high brand car. And he said, Prabhuji, I have this desire to get this car. I know it's materialistic, but I have this desire. He said it so sweetly and innocently. And I was like, I felt nice because he acknowledged that desire. He didn't immediately justify it or cover it up or become guilty or apologetic. I'm not saying he was shameless. It is basically saying at my present level, my remembrance of Krishna is not yet spontaneous. So I have created sacred space for him. So then that my practice becomes real. Because the example I gave Anand Gaurang Prabhu, it demonstrates honesty over pretension. Honesty is more important. He did not pretend that everything is spiritual. He acknowledged reality. This is temple time. This is family time. This is business time. This honesty is refreshing. For ISKCON devotees, honesty is sustainable. Whereas pretending everything is Krishna centered leads to self deception. We cheat ourselves. So let us not be self deceptive. And also, it respects our relationships by telling his family upfront, for 2 hours, I'm going to temple commitment. You know what he did? He created clarity rather than conflict because he told them upfront, 2 hours I will be in temple. So there was no confusion. And his family knew what to expect and they could plan accordingly. This is very different from devotees who create tension in family by being physically present but mentally absent. Or the devotees who suddenly disappear without communication. They leave family members feeling abandoned or resentful because they want to surrender to Krishna. And Anand Gaurang Prabhu's classic example is he says he sometimes tried to remember Krishna during other activities, but when he failed, he was saying it's okay because I am performing Krishna conscious activities exclusively also. This is refreshing. This is reassuring because he's normalizing the journey and removing the crushing guilt that devotees are going through because of unrealistic expectations in bhakti. So therefore, let us start with protected boundaries, 2 hours, 1 hour, half an hour. Maintain your responsibilities with integrity. Then gradually, everything will be auspicious. Now, I want to emphasize one thing that Anand Gaurang Prabhu is a responsible husband, father, everything. But if he had intensely started bhakti initial days, his family would have resented. Today, I'll tell you very honestly, not all his family members are devotees, the ISKCON devotees. But none of them are resentful. They all love devotees. Not all of them are chanting. But, they love devotees. They love our sadhus. Like for the wedding of the second son, we all had gone there, did kirtan. So, I mean, isn't it nice to have well-wishers? I mean, they like ISKCON. They like devotees. So what I'm trying to say is this differentiation is not a compromise. Now, sometimes devotees say, "Okay, Prabhuji, I will do compromise." They think differentiation is a compromise. It is not a compromise. It is a actual path to authentic integration. Okay, I want to clarify one thing. Even when you are doing differentiation, when you are giving dedicated time slot to your business, you could be doing this in the consciousness that I am doing this as a part of my service to Krishna. I love Krishna. Krishna, this is for you because ultimately you have given me this family. You have given me this business. So I think even when we are doing non-Krishna conscious activities, we can remember Krishna. Like, remember the example I gave of Gaurang Darshan Prabhu's student? Remember that example. Internally, you can remember Krishna always. But when it is not possible, don't have to worry, because Krishna also tells Arjuna, Tasma Sarveshu Kaleshu Ma Manuspari, remember me all the time. But if you cannot, it's okay. Hmm? So my request is that there are variations on how this actually unfolds. Don't have to worry don't have to get into the technical aspects of this, because there are some, for brahmacharis, na, our life circumstances are such that sometimes it allows us for faster integration. Like renunciants, sometimes we need intensive spiritual practice. So what I am suggesting today is actually suitable for householders, grahasthas. What I suggested today is mainly for grahasthas and for those who are very new in the practice, and those who are recovering from burnout or fanaticism. If you are a victim of burnout or fanaticism, if you are a grahastha, if you are new, then follow what I am suggesting: differentiation before integration. Or anyone whose life would genuinely collapse if they try to make Krishna the center immediately. But if you're a brahmachari and you have nothing, no responsibility, then अरे घुस जाओ पूरा सर पे कफन बांध के आ जाओ हरे कृष्णा में. So it's not that I mean, you just get into it. So I'm not giving black and white like that. So the point is, spend some time. Hmm? There are also some 3 practices I want to share. Maybe, but we should take questions also, right? I don't know. What to do? What should I do? Who will take the call? Uh, because next time we are meeting, when are we meeting next?
7th March, Prabhuji.
7th March. That's a long way. So, okay, maybe we could. Okay, I'll share these 3 practices, because, after all this theory, somebody may want to know how do we ensure that this process works for us, differentiation works for us. So I want to share 3 practices with you, and maybe questions we can take later. If you can send questions through WhatsApp or email, and then we can take it up later.
Sure.
Because one concern devotees have is that, Prabhuji, if we compartmentalize, if we separate, and if we differentiate, then the material side will pull me down. I think some of you already have this question. If you say, okay, let me focus on my material life, but material life is bad, material life will pull me down, it's a quicksand. I know one devotee who keeps telling me, Prabhuji, I'm scared of being distracted by Maya. So Maya is very powerful. So if I say differentiation, oh, focus on your material responsibility, but Maya is very strong, I may be finished. So I think let us address that. So there are 3 practices, because I know devotees, they have a sense of urgency. We don't want to lose Krishna, right? Many of you are like that. We don't want to lose Krishna. Um, so that's why devotees want to make Krishna the center immediately. And sometimes devotees, they go through suffering, they say it's okay. Like Pandavas also suffered, but I have to go back home, back to God, and let me rush to integration. No, no, I'll suggest 3 practices by which, you can ensure that you don't lose Krishna also, and you can also do differentiation. Is that okay? What I'm going to share now is focus on your material duties also and still not lose Krishna. That is basically the essence of what I want to share. Focus on your ambition, your studies, whatever you are doing, but don't lose Krishna. For the 3-step process is, first is pause and reflect. Stop. Allow things to settle, because your mind is overstimulated, over-informed. We hear so much, we read so much, we serve so much. How much are you digesting it? That is my question. So pause and digest. That doesn't mean delay, procrastinate. It means allow the inner dust to settle down so that clarity can come. I think we have a relentless pace, spiritual, material duties, so many things to do. I think many of us rarely give ourselves permission to relax. I don't know how many of you have consciously relaxed. Simply just be present without an agenda, like journaling, walking nature, sitting quietly. Sometimes people think, Prabhuji, it's easy for you to speak all this. These are all luxuries. We are grahasthas. I tell them, no, this is not a luxury. This is a necessity. You are just not accepting it. That's all. Because when you do this, you start digesting what you are hearing, reading. So, so when this quiet time, just catch up with all your spiritual. No, pause. This will help you connect. How do you eat? I mean, do you constantly stuff food into the mouth and expect nourishment, or do you also Do you swallow the food or do you chew it? Do you digest it? You can't continuously consume spiritual teachings without pausing to absorb them. So this pause and reflect is one. Now, second is very important step. If you can do this, then you will not get deviated during your material responsibilities. The second step is remember Krishna during your sadhana. I'll repeat. Remember Krishna during your sadhana, which means this is an uncomfortable truth because we ask how to remember Krishna 24 hours a day when we cannot remember him during our 2 hours of japa. And devotees have these lofty questions. Prabhuji, how do I remember Krishna throughout the day? I say, अरे छोड़ो, आप 2 घंटा जप करते हो ना? Why don't you try to remember Krishna during that time? Because you are directly with Krishna during chanting. Do you remember him that time? If you cannot remember Krishna during japa, how will you remember him during your business meetings, during your travel? So, mindfulness during spiritual practice is the seed of remembrance of Krishna during the whole day. If you want to remember Krishna during whole day, start remembering him during your japa. If you are chanting your rounds and also planning for the day, if you are attending temple programs and also checking your phone, if you're reading scripture and you're doing a dozen other things, you're not actually practicing devotion. You are performing a ritual while thinking material thoughts. So therefore, I'm suggesting during your spiritual practice, connect with Krishna. During your spiritual practice, you be with Krishna. That's the second. And if we do this, Krishna assures in the 10th chapter that I will give the intelligence by which you can come to me. So this is the second point. And third, very, very important, scriptures or hearing what you're doing now or studying scriptures, do it reflectively. Don't copy paste philosophical points. Reflect matlab, ask this question after every class you hear or anything you read. How does this apply to my struggle today? Try to move the scriptures from the pages to the heart. Bhagavatam becomes alive when it speaks the language, uh, of our language, when it speaks our language, my world of confusion, my longing, my surrender. So, not just to understand what's there in the scriptures, but to understand myself through the scripture. So, see how your life can become better by reading this or hearing this. Now, many of us copy concepts from the book, head information. I've done that for so many years. But we have to start asking reflective questions. Like how does this teaching help me in my spiritual life? How will it change my life if I live this truth? So, for these 3 steps I suggested: pause and remember Krishna during your spiritual practice. And third, reflect. Reflect on what we are studying. This creates a rhythm of clarity and strength. Also, this prevents a premature mixing of spiritual and material worlds. So, when we have this, then we will be able to lead a life where we can be absorbed in our material duties also and still not lose Krishna. So to conclude, the last part is very important because whenever we talk about differentiation before integration, devotees think that, oh, if you do differentiation, we will lose Krishna because Maya is very strong. But if we do these 3 things, we can be absorbed in our material duties and also not lose Krishna. And the first of that is pause and reflect. Second, remember Krishna when you're practicing a spiritual activity. And third, whatever scriptures you read or whatever you hear, reflect on it and try to apply it in your life. So I would like to stop here and maybe just take 1 or 2 questions today. Unfortunately, I went on and on for a long time. And then, yeah, we can take 2 questions and then I would like to conclude. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I think all of us felt that we wish that, we heard all of this at the time when we had just joined or, in the initial years because we can make these mistakes in the high of spiritual bliss in the beginning phase, especially. Rupali Mataji, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for such a wonderful class. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is the same problem I am also facing. Like last 10 years, I am practicing Krishna consciousness. But now my community members are saying, Mataji, your enthusiasm is more higher than your understanding in the Krishna consciousness. So how and whatever stages you are saying, no, the three steps I am already doing it, and really very very nice. So how can I understand this? Ki my enthusiasm is, I mean, the same story you have told about Dukhi Atma wala story, that is quite correlatable, but it's not a complete like that. So how should I understand and introspect well so that
Yeah.
I we can understand our stage where we are?
Somebody told you that you are more your enthusiasm is more than your understanding. So you should ask
Yes.
them only solution. If they observed you so well that they could tell you this, I'm sure they can also tell you part two of this. Right?
Okay.
You ask them. It's interesting. I'm very happy to see that there is some devotee who is telling you to, who is telling you to, okay, your enthusiasm. They're not, because sometimes no, we appreciate enthusiasm so much, but if somebody is telling you to kind of meditate on it or reflect on it, that's very healthy. Hmm.
Yes, yes,
Thank
I
you.
check.
Hmm.
Thank
We take one more Abhishek Prabhu and then we will stop. Is that okay, Surbi?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hari Bol Dhanot Pranam. Prabhuji, I don't know whether you remember or not. I was there in the GV with you and you connected me to Rajpal and Prabhuji also, Prabhuji.
Yes. Yes.
Prabhuji, so I'm new to Krishna consciousness, if I can say, is against all the devotees here, probably just 3 or 4 years in this Krishna consciousness. Prabhuji, it's a very overwhelming feeling. And today's class, I thought you were just giving for me only, Prabhuji. I mean, it was what I'm going through. And I was wondering whom I can ask. And today you are there. And that's why I'm shooting this question to you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, so I'm a banker and a chartered accountant, and my job is very hectic, Prabhuji. So I mean, leave at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, back at 9:30 in the night. उसके बाद प्रभु जी normally the schedule was family time or weekends पे friends का time प्रभु जी. Now I have cut off everything of that and I attend my Bhakti Vishk session from 9 to 9:30. And then Saturday also I try to read upon something. Rasparan Prabhu ji का class भी होता है. Sometimes Sundays I try to attend Ramrup Prabhu ji's lecture in Juhu ISKCON. And then, Prabhuji, so everything now, I want to study scriptures also. But still I felt, Prabhuji, I'm lagging. Because मैं कुछ कर ही नहीं पाता हूँ प्रभु जी इसके अलावा और devotees are going to Mangal Aartis or they are going for Dham Yatras when I see all this everyone Vrindavan Yatra everywhere. प्रभु जी मैं कुछ नहीं कर पाता हूँ and उसके बाद प्रभु जी now my friends are feeling that I'm leaving them out. They don't want to follow Krishna consciousness. They are okay with that. But they are seeing me as if कि तू full time वही कर रहा है अभी. I mean तेरा क्या चला life में? Point, Prabhuji. This is. I don't have an answer, Prabhuji, now.
And this is
And
exactly what we spoke today.
my family is also saying the same thing, Prabhuji, now.
Yeah, so I spoke the same thing. I gave you today solutions. I told you to go slow. There's nothing. See,
Prabhuji, then we'll be left behind, Prabhuji. We'll not be able to
yeah.
follow Krishna's consciousness. Only slow करते रहेंगे तो Prabhuji,
No,
now.
no, no. I told you three things you have to do. Pause and reflect. Remember Krishna during your sadhana and study scriptures reflectively. If you do these three things, even if you go slow, slow and steady wins the race.
Hmm.
You are going too fast, then it will crash.
Prabhuji, the fear is that I'm already 45. So devotees, I've seen devotee kids also
Okay,
about 15,
okay,
20.
okay, okay, okay. Wait, I got it. Go ahead. Do all the Bhakti Shastri, do everything. But are you ready to pay the price? Nothing comes free of cost. Are you ready to pay the price? Are you ready to lose your family? You're ready to lose your friends? If you are ready to pay the price, go for it. I have no issues. But problem is, devotees do all of this intense bhakti, and after a few years, they start complaining, oh, my family life is not there, nobody loves me. They make silly mistakes and then they blame Krishna. So you are saying you're 45 and you have wasted your life, you are not doing enough bhakti. Are you ready to pay the price for doing enough bhakti? Intense bhakti? If you
Got
are
it, Prabhuji.
ready,
No.
then take a call. I know one Mataji whose husband, she was cooking meat for him. And then she came to Krishna consciousness and she created a big scene at home saying that abhi kuch घर में मांस वांस नहीं बनेगा बस शुद्ध Krishna conscious prasadam. And he said he started fight, and they used to have big fights at home. And one day he stopped fighting with her and quietly accepted all the prasadam. And she came with her brother and sister and said, Prabhuji, now my husband has stopped fighting with me and is accepting the prasadam that I give him. So Krishna consciousness works. And you know what I said? I said, Mataji, yeah, It may not be because he's accepted your verdict. Maybe he's got a companion outside somewhere. So he's not complaining because somebody else may be loving him now. Maybe he's feeling unloved by you. She started crying. And that was true, what I said. So what I'm trying to say is, you have to be ready to pay the price. You can't just get everything your way. You can't say, I want Krishna, and then cry that, oh Krishna, Krishna bhi nahi mila, family bhi nahi mila. Na ghar ka, na ghat ka. Thank you, Rishiraj Prabhu. So be ready to. Uh, so yeah. So I want to take one comment here. We have been told that you have to go back home, back to Godhead. Uh, Lifetime, only one lifetime. So we have to follow Krishna consciousness rigorously. Yes, the one who told you this must have also told you the price you have to pay for going back home, back to Godhead in one lifetime. If he has not told you, ask him. Prabhuji, what is the price to pay? कुछ भी free में नहीं मिलता है. Have you gone to a shopping mall and just picked up things? Or have you paid a price for it? If you're ready to pay the price, then go for it. One lifetime back to Godhead. Congratulations. What if our counselors are pressurizing you to do more than what we can handle? Then learn negotiation skills. Learn. That means you need basic social skills. Okay, sorry. But I think you got Prabhu, Abhishek Prabhu. I hope I
Yes,
answered your
Prabhuji.
question. I'm
Thank you.
sorry if I was a
Yes,
little
yes, Prabhuji.
strong, but I spoke
No,
out
Prabhuji,
of
needed.
I
Yeah.
spoke out of affection. Don't be foolish. You know, be wise in bhakti. Thoda धीरे धीरे. You know. Yesterday I was. What is that? कल मैं क्या था? What is that? A nice quote I heard yesterday. I was smart. I wanted to change the whole world. Today I'm wise. I want to change myself.
Nice. Yeah.
You know, पहले मैं होशियार था, दुनिया बदलने चला, अब मैं समझदार हूं, खुद को बदल रहा हूं. तो आप समझदार बनो, जोश में भक्ति मत करो, होश में करो. You know, because you will lose many things. The way you are doing bhakti now, every day, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Shastri, this, that, and Hare Krishna devotees, my job is to give you 100% Krishna consciousness. That's the mandate I have. That's what I'll say on the Vyasasana. You use your common sense how much to purchase. I will sell 100% Krishna conscious. You ask yourself, can you purchase 50%, 60%, 70%? When you go to a shop, you buy products according to the purchasing power that you have. I will be happy to sell you पक्का 100% शुद्ध देसी घी का माल कृष्णा कॉन्शियस खरीदो. But you should have common sense. How much to take? Is your family important for you? Is your child important for you? Your family is already saying this. And you are saying, I have only one short life and 45 ho gaya. What will happen to me? I will not go back home, back to Godhead. I have to go back home, back to Godhead in this lifetime. Are if you can't experience Krishna in your family, if you can't experience Krishna in this life, in this world, how will you experience Krishna in another world? You have not seen Krishna. What do you know about back to Godhead? Back to Godhead is vague, abstract. If you are not able to see Krishna here, how will you see Krishna in the other world? यहाँ पे भगवान ने आपको एक फैमिली दिया है. उनको निग्लेक्ट करके भक्ति करना है तो करो, बट बी रेडी टू पे द प्राइस. Then devotees complain afterwards. Krishna did not give me this. I served Krishna so much. अरे कृष्णा देने वाले भगवान नहीं है, कृष्णा लेने वाले भगवान है. आपको लेंगे, आपके पूरा ले लेंगे, आपको ले लेंगे पूरा.
Thank you,
Of course,
Prabhuji. I mean,
and of course,
thank you so much.
when Krishna takes you, he gives you also. Don't get me wrong. Krishna is most merciful. See, I don't want to give you a false assurance, because I've seen devotees feel hurt. Okay, I'll stop here. Unfortunately, I have to go for another meeting. But thank you very much. And if I'm really, really sorry if I spoke something passionately with the, I was over enthusiastic, because ABC is a forum where I can speak what I want to and get away with it. So thank you very much for being a very, very consistent, audience, always encouraging me. Very grateful to you. Really, really grateful to you. And I know devotees, for some of you, it's early morning. I see some of you from US. I feel very ashamed, humbled. Thank you so much for encouraging me. And I hope to serve you again soon.